The Monarch Chess Society stood like a fortress of intellectual elitism on Fifth Avenue. Its marble steps and ornate wooden doors were designed to impress and intimidate. Inside, rich mahogany furniture, crystal chandeliers, and the persistent scent of expensive cologne created an atmosphere of exclusivity that had defined the club since 1920. On this particular Wednesday evening, the club hummed with its usual activity. Men in tailored suits and women in designer dresses moved chess pieces with practiced precision, their voices never rising above a cultured murmur. Everett Walsh sat at his usual table, his pale blue eyes scanning the room like a king surveying his kingdom. At 42, Everett was the club's reigning champion, a title he guarded with the ferocity of a lion protecting its pride. His salt-and-pepper hair and immaculately pressed navy suit spoke of money and privilege, as did the custom platinum cufflinks shaped like chess knights that adorned his wrists. Another boring evening, he sighed to Marcus Blackwood, a fellow member who stood beside him. No one worth playing these days, Marcus chuckled. Perhaps you've simply outgrown the competition. Everett smiled, but the expression didn't reach his eyes. Perhaps. The club's heavy double doors swung open, momentarily flooding the dimly lit room with the harsh glow of streetlights. In walked a woman who seemed oddly out of place in the rarefied atmosphere of the Monarch. Olivia Mercer paused just inside the entrance, her hazel eyes taking in the scene before her. At 35, she had the quiet confidence of someone comfortable in her own skin. Her simple white button-up dress, cinched at the waist with a worn leather belt, was a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding her. Her brown hair was pulled back in a practical bun, not a strand out of place, yet without the styled perfection that characterized the other women present. "May I help you?" The receptionist's tone carried a barely concealed suggestion that Olivia had taken a wrong turn somewhere. "I'm looking for Professor Harrison," Olivia replied, her voice steady and clear. "He asked me to meet him here at 8. The receptionist's perfectly arched eyebrows rose slightly. "Professor Harrison is running late. He called to say he's been delayed at the university. You're welcome to wait, though I'm not sure." She trailed off, eyeing Olivia's attire with thinly veiled disapproval. "Thank you. I'll wait." Olivia moved past the reception desk, ignoring the curious glances that followed her. She found an empty chair near the corner of the main playing area and sat down, her posture relaxed yet dignified. Her eyes roamed over the various games in progress, studying moves and positions with a quiet intensity that went unnoticed by most. Everett Walsh, however, had noticed the newcomer immediately. Something about the way she observed the games with focused attention rather than the casual interest of a novice piqued his curiosity. "Who's that?" he asked Marcus, nodding toward Olivia. Marcus shrugged. "No idea. Clearly doesn't belong here. Probably someone's housekeeper or a lost tourist." Everett's lips curled into a smile that held no warmth. "She's watching the games like she understands them." "Doubtful," Marcus scoffed. "Probably just fascinated by the shiny pieces." Everett chuckled, but his eyes remained fixed on Olivia. There was something about her, a quiet dignity perhaps, that irritated him. In his world, people like her knew their place and didn't venture into spaces like the Monarch unless they were serving drinks or cleaning floors. "I think," Everett said slowly, rising from his seat, "that we might have found some entertainment for the evening after all." Marcus followed his gaze and smiled. "Oh, this should be good." Everett made his way across the room, his movements deliberate and unhurried. Members noticed his trajectory and whispered among themselves. Everett approaching an outsider was unusual enough to warrant attention. Olivia remained focused on a nearby match, seemingly oblivious to the approaching storm. The game she watched was nearing its conclusion, a queenside attack that would lead Kyo to checkmate in 5 moves, though the defending player hadn't realized it yet. "Enjoying the view?" Everett's voice cut through her concentration. Olivia looked up, her expression neutral. "Yes, thank you." "You play?" The question carried a hint of mockery. "A little," she replied, her tone giving nothing away. Everett's smile widened. A little, he repeated, as if savoring a private joke. How charming. By now, a small crowd had gathered, curious about Everett's interest in this plainly dressed woman who had wandered into their sanctuary. "I'm Everett Walsh," he announced, watching for the recognition his name usually evoked. "Club champion for the past 7 years. "Olivia Mercer," she replied simply, offering neither congratulations nor impression. Everett's smile faltered momentarily before returning with renewed condescension. "Well, Olivia Mercer, since you enjoy watching, perhaps you'd care to play a game? I so rarely get the opportunity to introduce newcomers to the finer points of chess." The invitation dripped with false courtesy. Around them, club members exchanged knowing looks. Everett's introductions were legendary, quick, brutal dismantlings that left opponents embarrassed and the audience entertained. "That's very kind," Olivia said, "but I'm waiting for someone." "Oh, it won't take long," Everett insisted, his voice hardening slightly. "Just a friendly game to pass the time." The crowd had grown larger. Everett's challenges were a form of theater at the Monarch, a reminder of the hierarchy that existed within these walls. Olivia hesitated, her eyes scanning the room. The receptionist was watching with barely concealed amusement. Several members had abandoned their games to witness what promised to be an entertaining humiliation. "I'd really rather not," Olivia said firmly. Everett's expression darkened. "Surely. You're not afraid of a little chess game? You said you play." "I said I play a little," Olivia corrected him. "There's a difference." A soft ripple of laughter spread through the onlookers. Everett's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "One game," he pressed, "unless you find our club beneath your abilities." The sarcasm in his voice was unmistakable. Olivia sighed, recognizing the corner she was being pushed into. Refusing further would only create more of a scene. "Very well, Mr. Walsh. One game." Everett's triumphant smile returned as he gestured toward a vacant table in the center of the room. "Excellent. Shall we?" As Olivia rose to follow him, the club's main doors opened again. Professor Harrison, a distinguished man in his 70s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, entered and paused, taking in the scene before him. "Olivia," he called out, moving quickly toward her. "I see you've met some of our members." "Yes," Olivia's face brightened with genuine warmth. "Mr. Walsh has challenged me to a game while I waited." Harrison's eyes widened slightly as he looked between Olivia and Everett. "Has he indeed?" There was a note of concern in his voice, but also something else, a glimmer of anticipation. "Just a friendly match," Everett said smoothly, "to welcome your friend to our club." Harrison hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Well then, this should be interesting." He turned to Olivia. "Do you feel up to it? We could leave if you prefer." Olivia held his gaze for a moment, then shook her head. "It's just one game, Professor." "Very well," Harrison said, taking a step back to join the growing audience. "Just remember what I taught you." Everett's eyebrows shot up at this exchange, but he said nothing as he guided Olivia to the table. The chess table at the center of the room stood under the direct glow of a crystal chandelier, its marble surface gleaming. The chess pieces, hand-carved from Italian alabaster and onyx, were arranged in perfect formation, soldiers awaiting commands from their generals. Everett gestured for Olivia to take the seat facing the white pieces. "Ladies first," he said with exaggerated courtesy. Olivia sat down, her movements unhurried. She adjusted her chair slightly, then ran her fingers lightly over the white king, feeling its smooth contours. There was familiarity in her touch that didn't escape Harrison's notice. The Ardra crowd had grown to include nearly everyone present in the club that evening. They formed a circle around the table, their expectations clear. They had come to witness a slaughter, not a match. "Standard tournament rules?" Olivia asked, her voice even. Everett's eyebrows lifted in mild surprise. You're familiar with tournament. Play. As I said, I play a little. A few chuckles rippled through the audience. Everett nodded, settling into his chair with the confidence of a man who has never known defeat in this room. Tournament rules it is. Clock set to 20 minutes each. He gestured to Marcus, who stepped forward with a professional chess clock, and set it on the table. Olivia adjusted the white pieces, aligning them with precision. Her hands moved with practiced ease, but few in the audience noticed this detail, distracted as they were by the anticipation of watching Everett's usual performance. You know, Everett said conversationally as he arranged his black pieces, I usually give newcomers some advantage. A piece handicap, perhaps. Would you like that? The question was designed to sting, to establish dominance before the first move was even made. Several members smirked, expecting Olivia to either accept the handicap or bristle at the insult. Instead, she simply shook her head. That won't be necessary, thank you. Everett shrugged. As you wish. The chess clock was set. The board was ready. All eyes were on Olivia as she contemplated her opening move. The weight of expectation hung heavy in the air, mingled with the scent of expensive perfume and silent judgment. In that moment, something shifted in Olivia's demeanor, subtle but unmistakable to those paying close attention. Her shoulders squared ever so slightly. Her gaze, when it met Everett's, held a clarity and focus that hadn't been there before. Professor Harrison stood at the edge of the circle, his expression inscrutable, save for the slightest hint of a smile at the corners of his mouth. Olivia reached forward and moved her pawn to e4, a standard opening, but executed with a fluidity that spoke of countless repetitions. Everett responded quickly with his knight to f6, an unconventional but aggressive counter. Olivia paused, studying the board. The crowd watched, some already losing interest in what they assumed would be a quick and predictable game. Then she moved her knight to c3, and something in the deliberate precision of her movement caused Everett to look up from the board to her face. An interesting choice, he remarked, trying to maintain his air of superiority. Every choice in chess should be interesting, Olivia replied, her voice taking on a new depth. Otherwise, why play? Everett's eyes narrowed slightly as he considered his next move. He pushed his pawn to e5, attempting to control the center. Without hesitation, Olivia moved her bishop to b5, pinning Everett's knight against his king. A murmur rippled through the spectators. The move was aggressive, strategic, and undeniably skilled. Everett stared at the board, the beginning of a frown forming between his brows. This was not proceeding as he had anticipated. Your mentor has taught you some basics, I see, he said, attempting to regain psychological control. Olivia didn't respond, her focus entirely on the game before her. The match had begun in earnest, and the audience that had gathered for a quick execution now found themselves witnessing what appeared to be the opening moves of a genuine contest. 20 minutes into the game, the atmosphere in the room had transformed. What began as a spectacle of anticipated humiliation had evolved into a match of unexpected intensity. The hushed whispers that circulated through the audience carried notes of surprise and grudging admiration. Everett's confident smile had long since disappeared, replaced by the intense concentration of a man facing a worthy opponent. His forehead glistened with a light sheen of perspiration as he contemplated his next move. The board before them told the story of a battle where neither player yielded easily. Olivia had sacrificed a knight to gain positional advantage, a bold strategy that spoke of advanced understanding. Everett had countered skillfully, but found himself continuously responding to her initiatives rather than creating his own. Check, Olivia said quietly, moving her bishop diagonally across the board. Everett shifted his king out of danger, his movements less fluid than before. A muscle in his jaw twitched, a tell that Harrison recognized from years of observing players under pressure. You've played before, Everett stated, no longer a question but an accusation. Olivia lifted her eyes from the board briefly. I mentioned that I play a little. This isn't playing a little, Ms. Mercer. Olivia returned her attention to the board without responding. Her next move advanced a pawn, seemingly innocuous, but strategically forcing Everett's bishop into a retreating position. The clock ticked. Everett had used 15 of his 20 minutes, while Olivia had used only 8. Time pressure began to weigh on him, adding to the psychological strain. Marcus leaned toward another member, whispering, "Where did she learn to play like that?" The question rippled through the gathered crowd. Professor Harrison stood with arms crossed, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. When the club president approached him with raised eyebrows, Harrison simply shrugged. "Some people are naturally gifted," he said, loud enough for those nearby to hear. Everett's next move betrayed his growing frustration, an aggressive push that left a weakness in his defense. Olivia noted it immediately, her expression unchanging, as she capitalized on the error, sliding her rook into a threatening position. "Check," she said again. Everett moved his king to safety, but the cost was high, his position deteriorating further. 3 moves later, Everett stared at the board in disbelief. His king was trapped with no legal moves remaining. "Checkmate," Olivia announced softly. The room fell silent, the collective breath of the audience held in stunned disbelief. Everett Walsh, 7-time club champion, had been defeated in 27 moves by a woman no one recognized, dressed in a simple, white dress with a worn leather belt. The silence that engulfed the room was profound, broken only by the soft sound of Olivia resetting her pieces to their original positions. Everett remained frozen, staring at the board as if expecting the pieces to rearrange themselves into a less damning configuration. "That was," he began, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. "Unexpected." Olivia looked up, meeting his gaze directly for the first time. "Would you like another game, Mr. Walsh?" "I believe the traditional response to a defeat is to offer congratulations and request a rematch." Her words, delivered without malice but with unmistakable confidence, sent a ripple of reactions through the crowd. Some gasped softly, others exchanged wide-eyed glances, and a few, particularly those who had experienced Everett's arrogance firsthand, suppressed smiles. Everett's face flushed. He glanced around, suddenly aware of being the center of attention, for all the wrong reasons. The hunter had become the hunted, the entertainer now the entertainment. Yes, of course," he managed, straightening his posture. "A rematch, though perhaps we should make it interesting. A wager, perhaps." Olivia's expression cooled. "I don't play for money, Mr. Walsh." "Not money," he clarified quickly. "Information. If I win, you tell us who you really are and where you learned to play like that. And if you win—" He paused, realizing he had nothing to offer that she seemed to want. "If I win," Olivia continued for him, "you'll stop challenging unsuspecting visitors to this club for your entertainment." Everett blinked, caught off guard by her awareness of his usual tactics. Behind Olivia, Harrison couldn't suppress a proud smile. "Deal," Everett agreed, reaching for the black pieces again. "But I'll take white this time." As they reset the board, the crowd grew larger. Word had spread throughout the club, drawing members from the bar and reading rooms. Even the staff paused in their duties, finding excuses to linger near the match. "She beat Everett," whispered a newcomer to the gathering. "Impossible," replied another. "I saw it with my own eyes." The rematch began with Everett playing aggressively from the start, determined to establish dominance quickly and erase the memory of his defeat. Olivia responded with calm precision, her moves revealing a deep understanding of classical strategy. 10 moves in, club member Roland Nichols leaned toward Harrison. "She's extraordinary. Where did you find her?" Harrison smiled enigmatically. "I didn't find Olivia. She was my student many years ago before she changed paths." "Student? She could be teaching here." Harrison nodded. "Indeed, she could." On the board, the battle intensified. Everett sacrificed a pawn for initiative, but Olivia's counterattack revealed the move as premature. Gradually, inexorably, the position shifted in her favor once again. The whispers grew louder. The audience was no longer watching for Everett's triumph, but witnessing Olivia's mastery unfold. The rematch concluded even more decisively than the first game. Everett's final desperate attempt to salvage a draw was met with a combination so elegant that several members murmured in appreciation. "Checkmate in 3, Olivia announced quietly. Everett stared at the board, then slowly tipped his king over. In resignation, unable to deny the inevitable. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice a mixture of frustration and genuine curiosity. Olivia glanced at Harrison, who gave her a slight nod of encouragement. "Just someone who loves chess, Mr. Walsh," she replied, rising from her seat. "And now, if you'll excuse me, Professor Harrison and I have dinner plans." But Everett wasn't prepared to let her leave so easily. "Wait," he insisted, standing up. "I've played grandmasters who couldn't dismantle a position like you just did. You're not just someone who loves chess." The room had grown silent again, all eyes on Olivia. Harrison stepped forward. "Perhaps I can shed some light," he offered, though I suspect a few of our older members might already recognize Olivia Mercer, formerly Olivia Brennan. A collective gasp rose from several gray-haired members in the back. "The prodigy," someone exclaimed. "The one who disappeared before the International Championship." Harrison nodded. 20 years ago, Olivia was the most promising young player I'd ever coached. She qualified for the International Championship at 15. Everett's expression transformed as recognition dawned. "Brennan, I studied your matches. They're in textbooks now. But you vanished before the finals. Everyone thought many things," Olivia interrupted gently, "none of which matter now." She turned to Harrison. "Shall we?" Harrison offered his arm. "Your performance hasn't suffered from lack of tournament play," he observed. As they walked toward the exit, Olivia smiled. "I never stopped playing, Professor. I just stopped playing for an audience." The club members parted before them, faces reflecting newfound respect as they passed. As Olivia and Harrison reached the doors, Everett called out, "Ms. Mercer, Ms. Brennan, wait." They paused, turning to find Everett approaching, his earlier arrogance replaced by something resembling humility. "I owe you an apology," he said, the words clearly unfamiliar on his tongue. "I was unprofessional and unkind." Olivia regarded him thoughtfully. "Apology accepted, Mr. Walsh. Would you consider coming back? Perhaps giving a lecture or demonstration? The club would benefit enormously from your insights." Harrison watched Olivia carefully, noting the brief flash of consideration in her eyes before she shook her head. "I appreciate the offer, but no. I have a full life teaching elementary school mathematics. Chess is my sanctuary, not my profession." Everett looked genuinely disappointed. "At least, tell me why. Why did you walk away? You could have been world champion." Olivia smiled, a genuine expression that softened her features. "I discovered that I valued my love for the game more than I valued winning." The pressure was changing chess from a passion into an obligation. She glanced around at the opulent surroundings. "There's beauty in chess played for the right reasons, Mr. Walsh. When it becomes about status or humiliating others, that beauty fades." Everett nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "Your wager," Olivia reminded him gently. "No more ambushing unsuspecting visitors." "You have my word," Everett replied, extending his hand. Olivia shook it firmly, then turned to leave with Harrison. As the doors closed behind them, the murmur of conversation resumed inside the club. But something had changed. At tables throughout the room, members replayed the game moves from memory, discussing strategies and combinations with renewed enthusiasm, and Everett Walsh returned to his usual table, pulled out a notebook, and began to write, not to record. Another victory, but to preserve the lessons learned from an unexpected teacher in a simple white dress.